So recently it was announced that Jake Paul will be fighting Anderson Silva in his next fight. If you followed the situation at all, you know that a big talking point, especially from Dana White, was that Jake Paul was in fact ducking Anderson Silva.
Anderson Silva's out. Jake?
Specifically because Anderson Silva is a guy who is about his size, about his weight, and can box. There's been a lot of talk about Paul fighting guys that are shorter than him, fight at a lower weight class, and just plain don't have boxing skills. Anderson Silva is a complete and totally different opponent than anyone else he's fought. This isn't a Ben Askren who's coming in with a fake hip and 50 pounds overweight. This isn't a Tyron Woodley who's been cut from the UFC and is clearly past his prime. This is a guy who can box. While a lot of the hate being thrown Paul's way is about the fact that he has not fought a boxer, Anderson Silva is a boxer. Now, even though we know him from his illustrious MMA career, he has had professional boxing matches in the past. Anderson Silva is actually technically a legit pro boxer. He has a professional record of 3-1, 2 KO wins, 1 KO loss. His first ever boxing match was actually in 1998. So we are talking about a guy who has already dabbled in boxing and has always had aspirations of boxing. There was even talk back in the day of Anderson Silva getting in the ring with Roy Jones Jr., which, to be honest, that probably would not have been the best idea because, that was back when Roy was basically in his prime. Roy was a monster. Anderson Silva boxed Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who had a record at the time of 52-5-1. This guy is a legit pro boxer. Even though he's had his struggles in the past with drugs and, he's known for having a bit of a lack of discipline, he's a legit pro boxer. He even held the WBC belt at the time. And Anderson Silva beat him by decision in his hometown. After that, Anderson Silva knocked Tito Ortiz clean out. Tito can't box, so that's not really saying too much. And then in Anderson Silva's last fight, he fought some guy, Machado, I think was his name, in an exhibition in Saudi Arabia on the Floyd Mayweather undercard, where again, Anderson Silva, despite being 46, 47 years old, he looked great. And it's a totally different ball game than boxing Tyron Woodley. You gotta give the man his respect. Anybody who's willing to step in a cage or a ring in any kind of striking combat situation against Anderson Silva has my respect. And all the talk about him only fighting guys smaller than him, that goes out the window. He's fighting guys taller than him with a longer reach. And we've seen firsthand that Anderson Silva does have knockout power. This fight is happening at 185 pounds, so he's not fighting some overblown welterweight. He's fighting a guy at his comfortable weight class. But I gotta call a spade, and we can't sit here and act like Anderson Silva isn't 47 years old. I mean, the guy's had a really long career. Anderson Silva has had 45 MMA fights with a record of 34-11. Anderson has definitely taken some serious punishment over time. I mean, he's gotten knocked out multiple times. He's taken a lot of blows to the head over the years. You gotta wonder if at some point, he's 47, at some point he might get a little chinny. And I know that Jake is going to go in there looking to land the huge right hand. He's definitely going to have trouble landing that on Anderson Silva, one of the most elusive strikers that we've ever seen. Relative to both of these guys' last couple fights, this is definitely a step up in competition. I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say that Jake is a better boxer than Tito Ortiz and a better boxer than the MMA guy that Anderson Silva had an exhibition fight against. And it's no question that Anderson Silva is a way better boxer than Tyron Woodley. And I mean, I'm not even gonna compare his boxing to Ben Askren's. I mean, that would just be insulting. So all in all, I think this is actually a really good matchup for both guys. For Anderson Silva, it's a way for him to kind of remind people just how good he really is. If he can go in there and put on a show or even knock out a young guy who can box, that does have power, I would be very impressed. I think a lot of people would be. And for Jake, I mean, going into the ring with Anderson Silva is huge. I think he's going to earn a lot of respect. He is, even though he's known as an MMA guy, Anderson Silva is a pro boxer. He's had pro boxing matches, and he actually has a winning pro boxing record. So he is fighting a boxer. He is fighting somebody who's his size. He's meeting him at his weight. And I think it's going to be a great matchup. It's hard for me to predict right now. I'm sure I'll have a prediction closer to the time of the fight. Let me know in the comments below. How do you feel? Do you think Anderson is just going to get starched, or do you think Anderson's going to put on a clinic and remind us, how he's the greatest MMA striker we've ever seen? Thanks for watching.